going to give it the beans here. Okay, wow. Wow. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over a modified 911 turbo that has 1,000 horsepower. First and foremost, so a huge shout out and thank you to Harrison Imports for giving me some time with this 911 turbo. Check out their inventory in the description down below. Let's get right into the video. First off, we have to talk about the practicality here with the 911. So you guys can see I've got the Frunk, and you know, just like every other 911, it's large. You can fit quite a bit in here. You've got the little release latch in case someone throws you in here. And I do know from prior experiences that you can fit a person in here. Not a suspicious comment from Ben Hardy whatsoever. Anyways, you guys can see the original color of this car because this car has been wrapped, so it's actually red, and it's cool to see that contrast with the white on the car. But yeah, that's the Frunk. So let's go over the front end of this turbo. So like I said, this has been wrapped in satin white, and then you also have the red accenting down below, which is again kind of like a satin red, and combined together it looks really cool. So you guys will notice here we've got the projector bulbs with the LED accent light that goes around them, and then we have the little light washers, which are kind of like a signature of Porsches now. Got the Porsche logo there in the center, and then you've got the LED accent lights down below that are part of the turbo package. And you can see you've got parking sensors here on the front end, and then like I said, they wrapped the splitter, or the front splitter rather, in red. And overall, the turbo looks, you know, like other 911s. There's some key differences, but for the most part, it still has that like distinctive Porsche 911 aesthetic, and I think it looks really good. Now coming around the side here, we've got two 45mm tires wrapped on 20-inch wheels in the front, and then 305mm tires wrapped on 20-inch wheels in the rear. And you guys can see the company of the wheels, HREs. So yeah, suffice to say, these are very expensive wheels. They're also really lightweight, and I think they look really cool. Again, the red that accents the rest of the red on this particular car. You can see the massive rotors and brake calipers. You got to have quite a bit of stopping power when you have 1,000 horsepower. But the benefit of the 911 being rear engine is you don't have to have massive tires on the front end. 245mm for the width is not super wide, which is going to be great for turn-in and handling and all that fun stuff. And then you guys can see here we've got the bottom of the ear, which is still black, again the satin white, and then you have the giant side intakes that are part of the turbo package, which again just make the car look so much more aggressive, and just look how cool and sleek this looks from the side. So Porsche has quite a bit hidden with their new 911s from an engine perspective. You can't really open up the whole quote-unquote hood, but you guys can again see turbo 3.8. You can at least have that for the oil fill up and all that fun stuff. And it's cool to see the fans here at the top. But anyways, like I said, this is tuned and everything to 1,000 horsepower, so it should be pretty crazy to drive. And that's under that little area. And I'm going to figure out how to shut this because I'm not exactly sure, but oh, super easy. There you go. Now let's finish things up here with the rear of the car. So again, you guys can see the accenting right here looks really cool. And then you guys can see that as well. Again, love the aesthetic. And then you can see the spoiler here, again, blacked out, kind of contrasts everything. And then you can notice the red on the taillights is actually pretty close to the rest of the red accents in the car, so it all pulls together. And this is actually how you tell that this is a 991.2 generation, is because of the shape of these LED taillights. Funny little 911 thing. Anyways, you got the parking sensors here on the rear, aftermarket exhaust. We'll see what that sounds like in a little bit. But yeah, I think that they did a great job with the aesthetic build on this car. Now here's the front door panel. First off, you guys can see really nice leather here with the red contrasted stitching, which matches the theme of the car, and then down below. And yeah, the leather is really nice on this actually, and it kind of reminds me of the theme of my TRX, because my TRX has black leather with red stitching, but you know, definitely not 911 quality. Anyways, you guys can see we've got the window controls right here with the mirror adjustments. We've got the memory seat function right there, and then here's a quick look at the mirrors themselves. This one has the Burmester sound system. Got our turbo badge, and then you can see the front seats here. You've got the normal Porsche seats, which look fantastic, and they're very comfortable, and they hold you in place. They're very functional. You can see down below with the bolstering on the seats, and then all of the adjustments. There's like a million of them with these seats, which is pretty interesting. And they have this little tab right here that you can just pull up and then put the seat forward, and then that'll kind of give you access to the rear. The rear seats are kind of more for storage than anything else. I love how around the seat belt it still has like stitching. I think that's definitely funny. But yeah, definitely a storage space. I mean, you can fit kids back there for sure. And then you guys can see here at the pedal layout, I love this aftermarket like floor mat thing. You can see it's like, again, not part of the car, but it's added after the fact. It's got this cool quilted design on it and definitely makes the car feel a little bit more upscale, even though it's a turbo, so it's already extremely upscale, but this just adds to it. Got the light control right there. The steering wheel's automatically adjustable, and there's one more look before we pop in. So here's our steering wheel in this 911 Turbo. You guys can see you've got the beautiful leather all around the steering wheel, and then you've got the blacked out stitching here in the center portion. And then you guys can see here with this little dial, this is actually what changes into the different drive modes and everything, which is pretty cool. And you guys can probably hear a difference in the exhaust when I change that, so that's definitely cool. I like how it's on the steering wheel. It definitely feels unique. And then you got the paddle shifters right here, and then you've got like your practical controls for like phones and all that fun stuff. And then notice how we have the windshield wiper stock, got the turn signal stock there, and the steering has a nice like hefty feel to it, which I actually really like. Now here's the center gauge cluster. You guys can see that you've got RPMs front and center, and then on either side you've got, you know, the speed, you got a little navigation screen right there, and you got stuff for like the fuel, for example, and then temperature gauges over on the other side. And yeah, quite a bit happening, but you can actually see everything here from a driver's point of view, which is definitely nice. On some of the newest Porsche models, you don't have that ability to see everything, so I think that it's nice that on this version of the 911 you can still see all the gauges. We've got the center infotainment system, so first off we pop it into reverse. You guys can see we've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. Resolution on it's actually really good, and I like how it shows a little 911 depiction right there for the parking sensors. Pretty cool stuff. As for the rest of the infotainment system, I feel like it's pretty straightforward. It's got good response time with the infotainment system itself. Makes a nice clicking sound, and then you've got like analog controls here at the bottom, so like I can press nav, for example, and then it'll pop over to there. Can press car, for example, and then it'll pop over with that. So again, overall I feel like it's pretty easy to use. Got the home screen too, and so yeah, it's a nice infotainment system. Now you guys can see here down below the infotainment system, we got a bunch of analog controls. So we have heated, cooled seats here for the front passengers, and then your climate controls, and I'm glad that we've got physical buttons for those. We've got the shifter here for the PDK automatic transmission. You can only get an automatic with the new 911 turbos. I like how sturdy this feels. Like, feels like you're doing something substantial just by going into gear, which is definitely a nice feeling. Got the lock button here in the center. This is for the suspension. Got our stability control right here, and then this does have a sunroof with a shade, which we'll go over in a little bit. And then you actually have this for the wing to raise and lower it, and then the auto stop start. And then you can see here with the little storage space, and then it says turbo here in the center for the center console. You can see opening that up, you know, not massive from a storage space perspective, but again, this is supposed to be like a crazy sports car. And then yes, it does have the over-engineered cup holders, which I'm a huge fan of. I don't know, I've always liked the actuation on the cup holders and like the look of the whole setup here. Apparently I'm not, there you go. You know what, guys, I'm not fancy enough for the 911, so I don't know how to use half this stuff, but there you go. Got the glove box down below. Tons of storage space, actually. It's very big for the size of car this is. And then you guys notice there's leather on the front of the glove box, and then just notice everything that you touch and look at is very nice. And then also it has the sport chrono clock. But yeah, super premium interior. Like, definitely like fit and finish wise, one of the nicest interiors that I have ever reviewed. And that's kind of like a Porsche thing. Popping up here at the top, like I said, this does have a sunroof, and then you guys can see the headliner definitely adds to the premium feel. And I love how the visors are actually leather, and then it continues onto the pillars as well. And this actually has a decent amount of headroom here at the top, so if you're a taller person, you could definitely fit in this, which is can't be said for a lot of sports cars, but that's the top. Now, if you want the most up-to-date pricing on this 911 Turbo, then again, go check out Harrison Imports website in the description down below, and you'll be able to see that. And with that being said, let's take this 1,000 horsepower 911 Turbo out and see how it drives. So let's talk about visibility before we set off. There's your visibility of the hood, both of the mirrors. then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we're actually gonna start this video here in the parking lot. And the reason we're gonna start this video here in the parking lot is just so you guys can see how much of a daily driver this car is, right? The 911 Turbo is supposed to be the daily driver 911. And it's actually really easy to drive around. It is very low to the ground. That being said though, it's not too hard to drive around, and it's not so low that like you're just gonna scrape on everything, which is definitely really nice, and again, lends to the daily drivability with it. Now I'm gonna pop it over into the sport mode. Yeah, it's just gets a little bit louder. Definitely cool. I love the seat comfort, by the way. The seats are tighter, so if you're like a super large person, you might not fit in these seats comfortably. But I'm about 190 pounds right now, and I fit in these seats very comfortably. So, and I'm about 6 foot, if you guys are wondering. Ooh, jumpy, definitely jumpy. I barely tapped the throttle there. I have it in sport mode now, and it just like wants to just move. But yeah, the seats are super comfortable for me. So I think it's a big plus, and I just feel comfortable in this car in general. Like the visibility is great. It doesn't feel like you know, scary or anything like that. Gear shifts are instant. Turbo noise is so good, and it pops a little bit. Partial throttle and already gives me a little bit of a head rush. Yeah, this is... Pop into the Sport Plus mode now. Okay, so coming to a complete stop here, something that I want to mention that I can already feel is the brakes on this are fantastic. You guys know that I recently drove the Tesla Model S Plaid, which is pretty similar in terms of power figures to this, and that has a huge braking issue. This, however, does not. The brakes are perfect. Like, I feel like this can actually stop. And so having 1,000 horsepower, this is actually gonna be able to stop the car when it's at higher speeds, which is super important, right? That's something that you're definitely, you know, gonna want, right? When you just have this kind of power. I love how instant. Just feels so good. And yeah, and the brakes, they're progressive too. It's not like they're awkwardly, like, you know, bitey or anything like that, to where it's uncomfortable to drive. They're nice and progressive. You feel, you get good braking power, but they're just, the feel of them is really good. How the pedals modulate and everything, it's really solid. We're gonna be taking a turn here, and this will give us a little bit with the handling on our short test drive. It's so just responsive. I love the response of this. The steering is super communicative, actually. I've heard that turbos are, you know, kind of, from other car reviewers, right? I've heard they're kind of boring to drive, and I'm not getting that out of this car. The steering feels very precise. It just point and shoot pretty much from a steering perspective. And yeah, it handles really well. Now the Sport Plus mode does make the dampers a little bit more stiff, so I'm actually gonna turn the dampers off. So now it's in the normal chassis setting. So obviously the handling, right, isn't going to be as quote-unquote sharp, but it's going to ride a lot smoother. Okay, so we're getting up again. And don't worry, we will get an acceleration with this car. Don't you worry. Yeah, having the dampers in the normal setting definitely it's a lot better. It's still not like... I wouldn't say this is like luxury car floaty smooth, but this is very daily drivable. When you go over stuff, it doesn't upset the car, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable. So yeah, like I said, I don't think this is as like, you know, luxury SUVs and stuff like that. This doesn't have that same type of feel, but you know, for what this is, it does a really good job. I love the turbo noise. Gosh, and that response is just instant. Yeah, this has got to be the most responsive transmission that I have ever driven. Definitely a huge positive of the turbo. And you know, that's just every single 911 that has the PDK. So we're going to give it the beans here. Okay, wow. Wow. Good gravy. That should not be legal. Okay, we're gonna do that one more time. Wow. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm sweating. That is crazy. That is absolutely absurd. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good place to cap off the video. This is an amazing car. You could daily drive it in. I drove my TRX here today because I wanted to like drive a fast vehicle here so that I could be used to, you know, a fast car, right? Drive fast car to fast car. Yeah, this is on the level of the Model S Plaid. This feels like, and this is a combustion car. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is crazy. If you have the funds, this has got to be one of the funnest cars you could buy. Okay, yeah, that's all. Now let's get some things up for our video on this 911 Turbo, again, that has 1,000 horsepower, just pretty crazy car. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to Harrison Imports for giving me some time with this 911 Turbo. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I will see all of you in the next video.